I'm here with Joe Rogan. We have a lot in common, even though we don't have a lot in common. But you started in Boston, late 80s. You're doing your stand-up. How old were you, like 21?
Yes.
You went from there, you came to Hollywood. You're in news radio. You're still pretty young. Did Fear Factor, you did The Man Show. Your path was very unconventional. What were you trying to do, like, by your late 20s? What were you thinking, this is what I'm gonna do?
Well, I was always just doing stand-up, and everything else I was just doing for money. Like,
Right.
something would come along, and they would say, do you want to act? And I'm like, okay, I'll do that. And it was always like, well, if that sucks, I'll just go back to doing stand-up.
Yeah.
And it was never, there was no choices as far as like...
You're just grabbing gigs.
Yeah, there was no plan. Yeah, especially like Fear Factor. There was no plan. It was like, how much? Okay. All right, we'll do it.
But somehow you've been involved in a lot of stuff that has, like, rabid fans.
Yeah.
Like, Fear Factor was massive.
Well, it was ridiculous.
For like 3-4 years. It was like kind of the signature show out of all like the game showy kind of things.
Yeah, well, Survivor was first.
Right.
That was the big
Survivor
one. That sort of launched the genre. And then, yeah, it was Fear Factor. And then there was a bunch of other ones. But Fear Factor was just so ridiculous. I mean, we're sicking dogs on people. They're eating animal dicks. And we're drowning them in, you know, whatever bodily fluids that we had available. I mean, it was disgusting.
What was the grossest thing you ever saw of Fear Factor?
I don't think there was any one particularly grossest
stands out.
thing. Well, did it for 6 years, 148 episodes, and then we came back. We came back and did 6 more, and it got canceled because they made people drink cum. They made people
on NBC
drink donkey cum. Yes, and NBC approved it.
What color was it?
It was just like regular color cum.
Okay, good.
But yeah, they had to play horseshoes. They drank donkey piss and donkey cum. And
you told them it was Donkey Kong?
I told them everything they were doing. Yeah, well, I told the people that were producing the show, don't do it. There's only 2 times I told them don't do it. I said, we can't do this episode. One, they were making them ride bulls. And they had
somebody get like paralyzed.
Oh, for sure. And they were like, well, these are stunt bulls. I'm like, does the bull know he's a stunt bull? Because I bet he thinks he's a fucking bull. Like, this is ridiculous.
Hey, you got lucky nobody either died or, not just with the bulls, but even like drinking some of the disgusting stuff or eating some of the stuff.
Well, cum at the end of the day is just like protein. It's phlegm and protein, so it's really not that big of a deal. But,
you did a conspiracy show on Sci-Fi.
Yeah.
And I'm a big conspiracy guy, and my friends always make fun of me. One of the things, the moon landing has intrigued you for years.
Well, conspiracies, yes, it has. But conspiracies have intrigued me. But I've found out a lot doing that show, the Joe Rogan Questions Everything show on Sci-Fi. There's a classic style of human being that's into these things, and it's unfuckable white guys. Like, those are the type of guys that go looking for Bigfoot. Like, I had a joke in my act. There's the one thing you don't find when you go looking for Bigfoot: black guys. You will find Bigfoot before you find black guys looking for Bigfoot. It is just a bunch of unfuckable white dudes out camping.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. It's like some weird thing. They hit this point when they're like in their 40s or their 50s and like, nobody wants to fuck me anymore. I got to find ultimate truth. Right. There's a UFO. It's at Hangar 18.
Bermuda
I got to get
Triangle.
there. Yeah, there's something
With that said, the
about
moon landing is a little
mysteries.
fishy.
The moon landing, here's the issue with the whole era of the 1960s and the 1970s. There was a lot of deception going on.
Yes.
This is where Operation Northwoods was created, where the government, the Joint Chiefs of Staff signed a document saying that they were going to blow up a drone jetliner, blame it on Cuba. They were going to arm Cuban friendlies and attack Guantanamo Bay. There was a lot of deception. This is Watergate. This is the Nixon administration, and there was just a lot of fuckery.
All the stuff the Republicans are doing to the Democrats, like the Muskie letter, all that stuff. You're right.
Yeah, it was.
Even the Hollywood movies back then, they were always geared around like the government trying to pull something over and people trying to realizing a
candidate. Yeah. Well, there was a lot of deception. There was a lot of. It was standard, and so they definitely fucked with some photographs. Like there's some photos of Michael Collins that they tried to pass off. I think it was Gemini 15. Tried to pass it off as him being in space, when people found out that it was actually just these tests that they were doing, these preparation runs, and they just blacked out the background and tried to pass out those photos as space. So if you look at that, you got to go, well, if they were willing to do that, and the PR team did that, how far did they go?
If I had to bet my life on it, I would bet it happened, but I have a lot of questions.
Yeah, I would put myself in the same camp. I think there was definitely some fuckery involved in some of the footage that we viewed. And there's been some people that have, gone over it with a fine-tooth comb and found some irregularities. But, you kind of got to use Occam's razor whenever you're looking at any of those things. Like, what is the most likely possibility? The most likely possibility is that we went.
What conspiracy theory do you actually believe in that's a conventional conspiracy theory and you're like, I'm actually in on this one 100%?
I don't think there's one.
Well, there's like dozens.
I don't think even dozen. No, I don't think there's a one that I buy.
Oh, so everyone you have a shred of doubt.
Well, that was the problem with that show. When you do that show, the Questions Everything show, and I met with the experts about like UFOs or Bigfoot or any of these things, you find out there's almost no evidence. There's nothing. Like as you go deep into it, it's all just anecdotes. It's all just people's stories. It's all just people saying that this happened to them. But people are fucking crazy. So if you get like 100 people, you're gonna find one crazy person. So if you have 300 million people, you've got 3 million crazy people. So the fact that all these people have sightings, there has to be something to it. No, there doesn't. Because you're dealing with massive numbers of human beings, and you're dealing with all sorts of weird mental issues, all sorts of paranoid schizophrenics, all sorts of people that desperately want to be special. They desperately want to be the one who's in contact with the Palladians on Starship 17 out there. There's just a lot of wackiness. So the
NBA has a good one, by the way. I know you're not a big NBA fan, but the 1985 draft lottery, Patrick Ewing was the prize, and the Knicks got the #1 pick. And there's video, people have slowed it down. They're picking the envelopes out of the thing, and people either think the envelope was frozen with the Knicks, or that it had a little corner that was. So Stern's reaching in, and people have like stopped the video to see if was he fumbling around, he felt the frozen one, and that was the one he pulled.
Oh, so
that's
they made
my
one
favorite.
That was really cold. That's actually a good move.
Yeah, if they did it like carbon whatever.
Yeah.
I like 10%, believe it.
10%?
Yeah, 10%.
It's fun.
Last thing, podcasts. I started mine in May 2007. You started yours 2009 somewhere?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Are you amazed by how big this genre has become?
It's bananas. Like, the numbers are insane. And, when we first started it out, it was just for fun. It was just a goof. It was a silly thing to do.
With your buddies?
Yeah, it was just, we thought it'd be fun to just hang out and talk shit,
You'll smoke pot on your pod. I don't. I'm afraid to do anything like that.
Why afraid?
Well, because I'm just not good at drugs.
Oh.
I'm bad at doing them.
Well, then you should
being confident. Yeah.
I'm good at pot, so
yeah,
you're
you're much better at drugs than I am.